Ben from the Strength Factory. Today we're doing intervals.
So what actually is an interval training session? Well, it's a deliberately structured session where we're targeting a specific physical quality, okay? Whether it's your threshold or anaerobic or VO2 max, and it's a period of high intensity work followed by a period of recovery or low intensity work. When we're talking about planning and doing your intervals, there are three basic principles that I would apply to doing them, and they're going to guide the way you set them up and the way you carry them out. The first one is also a general training principle, and that is that as you approach the event or the season, the training should become more specific and more like that event. So in the depths of winter, the training is very general. We're developing general physical qualities with your intervals, and then as you approach the season, we're very much trying to mimic the demands of the race, whether that's cross country, whether that's enduro, or even just, the trail riding or the trips that you've got planned. The second principle, is that of progressive overload, and that is what governs all adaptations to training, whether you're in the gym or on the bike. So basically what we're saying is that over time we need to increase the level of stress on your body so that you continue to make progress. Otherwise you'll make progress and then it's going to level out. We can do that primarily by putting out more power. Okay, you get fitter, you get stronger, so you put out more power over a given duration. And you can do that whether you're measuring power or not. You just try harder and hopefully you're improving. You can do that by manipulating the duration of the intervals and duration of the recovery, and also the total number that we do, so the number of reps you do in a session. All of those come together to give us our progressive overload over time. The third principle that I apply is one where we first of all develop the physical quality and then we learn to repeat it. And what I mean by this is that I see too many people in November and December and things like that doing intervals with an intense interval followed by a really short recovery, and then they go again. And what happens is you have every interval becomes lower and lower quality, and so we're actually failing to develop that ability that we're going for. Let's just call it a 1 minute interval. So if you're doing like a minute on and a minute off, a minute on, minute off, then gradually the quality of those minute on is going to reduce, and so we're not actually training to push our 1 minute power up. Whereas with my approach and applying this principle, we develop the quality first. So we want to be more powerful over a minute. So we can do a minute on and 3 minutes off. So we recover really well, so that all of those minutes we do are really high quality with high power outputs. And then we have developed that physical quality to be more powerful over the duration of 1 minute. And then once we've developed the quality, we then start reducing the rest periods to learn to repeat it, okay? So develop the quality and then learn to repeat it. If you watch a few of my videos and they're helping you to be fitter, faster and have more fun on your bike, then do me a favour, like and subscribe, all right? So then, how are we actually going to go about doing it? How are we going to set it up? The first thing is that ideally you want a controlled environment, and that means that we can really target very specific physical qualities. So the most controlled is actually indoors, okay? On your turbo trainer, watt bike at the gym, whatever that is. You've then also got the road, which has an element of control, but you've got things like traffic and traffic lights. And then generally on the mountain bike, we'd be looking to come somewhere like this and using fire roads where it's unobstructed and you can just get on and do the work nice and safely in that controlled environment. Now, the other thing we're going to need is some way of measuring or indicating the intensity that you're working at, because that's what it's all about. High intensity followed by low intensity. So the first one, the most high tech, is to use power in watts. And again, a lot of people these days have the smart trainers and things like that, where you can set specific power on the trainer, and same with the watt bike. And a few of you out there, not many people to be honest these days, might even have a power meter on your road or mountain bike, in which case, hopefully you already know how to use it. The second level of tech is heart rate, okay, which is probably what most people are going to be using. And the first thing I'll say on that is that going off of a watch, taking wrist heart rate is like a rough estimate of your heart rate, okay? Certainly not good enough to train with. If you're serious about training, get a chest strap, stop relying on that. And then what I would also do is, if you are using a watch rather than a computer, is getting on your bars so that you can really easily see it, and you know, just top tip. So you got power, you got heart rate, and then the third way we can talk about the intensity is using an RPE scale, okay? RPE, rate of perceived exertion. Basically, how hard is it? I use a scale from 1 to 10, where I'm currently at a level 1, and level 10 would be maximum effort, maximum heart rate. You're probably about to explode. And in a given interval session, you could say, oh, we're going to do heart rate zone 4, which is about an RPE sort of 7 to 8 maybe, followed by a recovery period of zone 2, which is your aerobic generally, which is RPE 3 to 4 or something like that. So we got power, heart rate and RPE are the three main ways to measure the intensity of your efforts. Let's take a quick example then. This would be a session that maybe an enduro racer or a trail rider might do back in the winter months or early spring to start building their power over short durations. So it's going to be 30 seconds work followed by 2 minutes recovery. The 30 seconds work is going to be zone 5, okay, in your typical heart rate training zones, or RPE sort of 8 or 9 out of 10. You're going to work really hard for that period, but then because we've got 2 minutes recovery, that is going to be basically full recovery after each one, which means we can repeat them to a really high quality again and again. You're going to do maybe 4 to 6 reps of those in a set, so 30 on, 2 minutes off, 4 to 6 times. We're then going to take a break, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to do another set of 4 to 6 reps again. So in total, we're getting anywhere from 8 to 12 total reps throughout the whole session. And because we've got the full recovery, they're all going to be high quality. Because remember, this is early in the training. We're still further away from the race, so we're developing the quality before we learn to repeat it. A couple of quick fire tips for you to help this go smoothly. Number one, watch, computer, whatever you're using, get it set up correctly so that the information you need is really clear when you breathe in hard, okay? I've got a video that's going to tell you how to set it up. I'll get it up there and down there, you know the score. Tip number 2, fuel yourself. When you go high intensity, the fuel for that is carbohydrate. If you're doing a long and demanding interval session, then consider using some sort of carbohydrate supplement, okay, whether it's an energy drink, a gel or a bar, or just making sure you're really well fueled up beforehand. Third mini tip is just keep it simple, focus on one thing per session. What am I working on? Am I working on my power 30 seconds or 10 minutes? And just zone in on that, okay? Don't get distracted, keep it simple. Which ties in on tip number 4, is that yes, all the different apps out there like Zwift and Limit, Trainer Road and all those things, they're great because they get people training. They're great because, you know, they make it more interesting and so you can be fitter. But they're overcomplicated and gamified, and actually when I look at most of them, they make me want to do a little bit of a sick in my mouth. Go back to point 3, keep it simple, okay? They don't need to be really complicated with 15 different levels of interval. Keep it simple. Let's give you another example then. This one is more for someone who's like a cross-country racer, or maybe they do like really long distance rides, like marathon rides, things like that, and long extended durations of pain and suffering are a part of what they're training for. So this person might do an interval session like this, 45 seconds of work, okay, followed by 15 seconds of active recovery. And you're going to be doing 15 to 20 reps, okay, so 15 to 20 minutes each time, okay? Now, let's talk this through. That 45 seconds, we're looking to work there at the top of zone 4, so above your lactate threshold, potentially into the bottom of zone 5, depending on how well conditioned you are. And then we've got 15 seconds, just that aerobic zone 2 work. And what this lets us do is it lets us push up that ability. Because if you were to hold that intensity for the 15 or 20 minutes solid, you wouldn't be able to do it. But those 15-second recovery at the end of every minute, they let you ride at that higher intensity, that higher level that's going to push up your fitness. So like I said, you might do that for 15 to 20 reps. If you want to, you can then take 5, 10, 15-minute aerobic spin and then do another one, or even another one, okay? It all depends on the demands of the event or the race that you're training for. So if you're training for a 1 hour, 15-minute XCO cross-country race, then that's the sort of duration that we want to be building up to at those high intensities, where you're going to be in that zone 4, zone 5 area, okay? And that's where a session like this comes into its own. What we need to do now is give it some context and fit it into the bigger picture of your training week or your training schedule. Because, you know, you'll often see things online, high intensity versus low intensity, which is better? And any coach or anyone who's got fit knows they're not better, they're just different. And they both overlap and complement each other. So we've got that zone 2, that aerobic work that I'm always going on about because it's so important. We've got this high intensity interval work. And then in the middle, that tends to be the mountain bike group ride, the social ride, the stuff that we all love, okay? Going out riding with your mates, send in, happy days. And so if you think about a week and what we're trying to achieve, we need some sort of aerobic work. Again, most weeks, more aerobic probably in the winter, maybe less as you approach the season, maybe. And then 1 or 2 doses of that high intensity interval training, again, depending on how fit you are, how much time you've got, how old you are, how well you recover, okay, blah, blah, blah. In the middle is the group ride, where you're just going to ride, you're going to have fun, and that naturally kind of takes care of the middle ground, because if we've got the low intensity, the high intensity, the group ride fills that middle ground. And then look at that, across the week, we've kind of ticked all the boxes. So if you're talking about training zones, we've ticked zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? If you're talking about RPE, how intense it is, you know, I've got my 3 or 4 out of 10 here for the aerobic work. The group ride tends to be like a 5, 6, maybe 7 if you're like slow in the group. And then the interval work ticks off the higher threshold stuff at the end there. So that is basically how it all fits together. How you program that is up to you. Remember that how you arrange your week and how much emphasis you put on the aerobic or the intervals is going to change throughout the year with the weather, with what you've got planned, with your racing and your fitness. It may be that you do very few intervals in the depths of winter. Okay, you focus on that zone 2 work and you build that base, and then you layer on more intervals as you get to the spring. Okay, some people do it the other way around. The weather's so bad that you don't want to do all the aerobic work in the winter, the long, slow, steady rides. It's too cold and wet. Get the intervals done there, back off the intervals, do some aerobic work, and then apply the principle, then put the intervals back in to get yourself ready for the race season. Nothing is fixed. It's all about your situation, your needs, your lifestyle, and making it work so that you can be consistent. There you go then, interval training. Whether you're a racer or a trail rider, keep them simple, keep them focused, and they're going to help you to improve your fitness, improve your performance, and enjoy your riding more. Remember, if you've watched this far, give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me to grow the channel, and it helps me to help you. If you also want a little bit of help with your training, if you want me to figure out what intervals to do and when, just drop me a line, drop me an email, or in the comments I'll get back to you about my range of online programs.